Today, I am joined by a very special guest, KU grad, and a very successful author, Gillian Flynn. Gillian, thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to learn more about your career path at KU and how you became such a successful author.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
As you know, we're highlighting former KU grads who are successful now. So I kind of am curious to know, what did you do at KU that kind of took you down that path of being a journalist and now an author?
I would say, first of all, I would not be an author unless I'd had a journalism background. I mean, I really strongly believe that KU taught me to think critically in the journalism program, to ask good questions, to rewrite when I needed to, kill your babies, and to really, never settle for just what I think is kind of good enough. I love rewriting, and I like thinking about what I've written in a creative way. And I certainly loved the idea that, the muse is not going to come down for you and give you that gift of suddenly being able to write. I think that discipline of learning to write, every day, really, really helped me.
Where did that passion and that spark for becoming an author kind of start and originate from?
I was very lucky because my dad was a film professor in Kansas City and my mom taught reading. And so I always had a book in my hand or was going to a movie with my dad. And I grew up in a place where story was incredibly important, whether it was particularly news and letting us understand more about the world and different people, or whether it was fiction and letting your imagination take you places and making yourself a richer person. So I was always someone who wanted to write for a living, always.
Was there kind of something at KU that helped you get involved in starting as a young journalist and a young author? Like, were there any clubs or activities that you were involved in within the KUJ school?
I really worked closely with my teachers, and I was in the magazine sequence, and so did everything, in practice of what a layout looks like, what how to search for typos, a wonderful copy edit class that I took, and really learning how to love the language that way and learning how to present it in an informative and interesting way. That was always what really interested me.
Thinking about how you kind of were a journalist and now you're an author, what kind of maybe key factors kind of helped you become an author because you were a journalist? Is there something that you had those characteristics or things you learned as a journalist that helped you become an author?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it really is that idea of the discipline of writing every day, and that idea that you have to sit in your seat and write. And sometimes it's a slog and sometimes it's not very fun, but you're not going to learn how to write by reading a lot of books about writing. You got to write to write. So I think a lot of that was that realization that it is, it's like any sort of exercise or strength training. It's, so you're working your brain every single day and engaging with the world and having that interest and that curiosity to ask a wide range, a wide array of people all sorts of different questions, and that helps you become a better fiction writer.
Do you kind of have, kind of beside the author journalist, kind of have a favorite memory of your time at KU?
I think it was the thrill of, I loved walking into the School of Journalism every day. I loved being treated as a peer by my teachers, learning from them, but I never felt as if I were a complete student, that they were just handing information to me or spoon feeding them. They really trained me to think hard and to ask worthwhile questions. And, so to me, it was that excitement of realizing that there are so many ways into journalism. There are so many viable and important jobs that go to making a newspaper every day or a magazine every day, and learning hands-on about all of them in a way.
I think that's also, you kind of mentioned it, that's what makes the KU Journalism School is so unique, is because there are so many ways to learn about the realm of journalism and the broad realm it is.
Mhm.
And kind of talking about you as a famous author, some of your books are kind of set in that Missouri, Kansas City period area location. Do you think KU would ever be mentioned in a book?
Well, I don't know. Do we want it or do we not want it? Depending on how nefarious, I guess the storyline is. But, it certainly is full of all different kinds of stories, all different kinds of people, which fascinates me. And certainly my second book, Dark Places, you kind of drive through the KU area in order to get to this kind of farmland that I have theoretically placed in the middle. It's a fictional, so I can put it wherever I want. But you never know.
Speaking, I've watched the movie Gone Girl and bestseller book. What kind of sparked the idea of Gone Girl?
I gotta be honest, for me, it's my interest in true crime. I've always been interested in that, and I think there are people in the world that either like to look under the rock or don't like to look under the rock. And I've always been like, let's flip the rock over and see what's underneath. I want to know what it is. And I had that idea of, that idea that when a woman goes missing, we automatically suspect the husband. And what happens when a man comes home and his wife is missing, and you can never be considered just a worried husband. If you're too emotive, then you're putting on a show. If you're not emotive enough, then you don't care. And kind of that idea was playing in my mind for quite a while, and what the archetype is of that we follow.
Gone Girl, Dark Places turned into movies, and then Sharp Objects, that's a TV miniseries. What's kind of different about writing a book and then seeing it turn into a TV or a movie adaptation? Are you kind of in that process of screenwriting?
Oh, yes, I wrote the screenplay for Gone Girl, and I wrote a lot of Sharp Objects. So I was extremely involved in the writers' room for Sharp Objects, and wrote the screenplay for Gone Girl. So I really like to be hands-on with what I'm doing, because number one, then I don't have anyone to blame but myself. And also just because, again, like, because my dad's a film professor, I love film, and so I love that idea of how do you translate something that's a book and is often very internalized, it's the character's thoughts, and make that, so that you can tell it in a scene in a film. It's a real challenge to me, and especially to get to do that after I'd written several novels was really special to me, to challenge yourself, always.
You said you loved film. You grew up because your dad was a film professor. When you were at KU, did you ever think that I'm going to write a book and it's going to one day be on the big screen for everyone to see?
Nope. The shortest answer is absolutely not. No, I really thought I'd be a journalist my whole life, and I loved that aspect of it. I was a journalist for 10 years at a weekly magazine, and just thought that that was an amazing and wonderful way to make a living, to be actually paid to meet a wide variety of people, to be a witness to history, to be paid to critically think every day. I never got tired of it.
We actually just interviewed Bill Curtis, who is a former KU grad, and he's actually the voice of true crime. Have you guys ever met or kind of connected before by chance?
No, but I would love to. I absolutely think he's just fantastic. So maybe our paths will cross someday.
Maybe your paths will, but also on that topic of maybe if they will, what's in the future for you? Do we have any books coming out? Kind of what's going on that's new on the project that we can expect from you?
Yeah, I have. I'm finishing up a book, so that's my primary job right now. Is I've taken a little time off of screenplay writing so I can get this next book done. It feels more than time enough. So I'm been enjoying kind of being alone back in my little office, in my own sick little brain, and writing this next book.
Do you ever plan to come back to KU anytime soon by chance?
Yes, I do. I can't wait. I'm hoping next time we're back in Kansas City, my folks still live in Kansas City, so that we'll be able to zip out there and this time bring the kiddos.
Well, maybe we'll see you in the future. Hopefully we do. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was awesome to hear your story and kind of how the KU Journalism School helped you shaped to where you are today.
Thank you very much.